You're good.
Hi, everybody. It's Tisha out of Arizona, Nate out of Georgia, and we have Dr. Alice Kerby joining us this morning. She is a physical therapist, trauma practitioner of Kerby Method Consulting. You're also in the West Coast, right, Dr. Alice?
I'm in San Diego, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm jealous. I'm officially jealous. San Diego. Nate, how about you? Are you like feeling the beach? You want to be at the beach right now?
I'll take the beach, I'll take This is humid here.
I know. I'm so happy we don't have the humidity. So today we're talking about something so timely. I think that a lot of us as entrepreneurs and people tuning into this, we're talking about balance in the world of entrepreneurship and learning how to work within the flow rather than pushing endlessly forward in a linear path. So I'm very excited. I'm excited to just jump right in. I'm going to let Nate I'm going to hand it over to him so he can ask questions. Real quick housekeeping, if you have some comments and questions for Dr. Alice Kerby, please post them in the chat and we will get to them real time. If you're watching the replay, we will also be responding to your comments as well. So again, welcome, Dr. Alice. Nate, it is on you, buddy.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave then.
You can't leave. You're my technical guru.
All right. So, Dr. Alice, thank you for coming on. And, we'll just go ahead and jump right in here. One of the things that I was looking at, looking over the notes for you and stuff is you talking about anxiety and things like that and how it can build up while you're working. Obviously, everybody just kind of pushes through life and we don't really take care of ourselves a lot of the time. So why don't you talk about some signs and things of how that creeps up on us and that we should be looking for in terms of, really trying to notice it before it becomes a huge problem.
Sure. And thank you so much for having me, both of you. It's a pleasure. You both seem very fun. So I'm excited to jump in. Yeah, that's great. Sure. So I think we all can really relate to this, whether we're entrepreneurs or we're, just especially during COVID, we're at home now with kids maybe and having to fulfill these multiple roles. And so I think one of the best ways to identify when your anxiety or your stress levels are really on more of a high constant and where you're not ever coming back down and settling it helps if you have a good sense of how you feel when you feel normal or more like yourself, or if you have a sense more of your baseline and your kind of your neurologic baseline, your physiological baseline. And that way you can tell when you're starting to really rise way up out of that baseline. And the problem comes when we are so far out of the baseline for long periods of time, because stressors happen. We're going to go through these ebbs and flows. We're going to go through activation and settling cycles. We get stressed, because of an event. But then hopefully in the way that our biological systems are designed is that we go then through a settling cycle and we're able to kind of relax, come back down and go through life as ourselves. But what happens a lot is we get stressed and we stay stressed. And then we're responding to everything in life from this place of being highly stressed. So if we can identify when we feel more like ourselves or getting close to that baseline, and then we can start noticing like, oh, wait, I haven't taken a breath, a good breath in like 30 seconds or 5 minutes. I mean, obviously we're still breathing, but sometimes we get in these kind of real clenched patterns, and being able to identify some of the physiological symptoms that go along with anxiety as well, like the tightening in the chest, the shallow breathing, pit in the stomach, sweating even. And if those are happening for longer periods of time, if we don't settle back down, that's a really good cue to kind of stop and take a look at, okay, what's happening? Can I build in some time that's going to help me relax? What are strategies that I know that help me to come back into that more place of relaxation, rest, or just normalcy for us? It doesn't mean we're like chill Buddha on a cloud all day long, but where we feel more like ourselves.
Chill Buddha on a cloud. I really like that saying.
I mean, it does sound nice. We should get a t-shirt. Kerby Method Consulting. Chill Buddha.
I remember getting this little Buddha, like it was a porcelain mug out in Vegas. And I'm just like, I have to keep this. Like my nice frothy drink came in it, and that made me very relaxed. All right.
All right. So you kind of went into that. I know for me, and I'm sure a lot of people out there, they kind of run the same thing is when they're working, they're trying to be productive. They try to get stuff done because obviously we all have to be productive to, make it through life. how do you get that ebb and flow? How do you get that balance that you would want to be in, ideally, to not let it weigh you down and stop you from being productive, but also being able to listen to your self and just catch things before it becomes a big problem. Talk us through some tactics or some tricks and tips about that.
Sure. So I think it all really starts with awareness. And there's something, I wish I had the diagram here. I often do. There's something called the window of tolerance. And this is typically what I start with in the groups that I teach and when I'm working with individual clients or even in corporate wellness. And so I'll do a little bit of the diagram with my arms here. So if you can imagine, there's the top here and the bottom of this diagram. And so up here is more of our sympathetic nervous system. So it's a branch of our autonomic nervous system. It's that fight or flight system we're all, I think relatively familiar with. And then down here, on this bottom one, it's more that parasympathetic rest and digest relaxation. And so as I was saying earlier, our systems are biologically designed to go like through these activation and settling cycles. So it really is like a wave. And so I like giving people or having them even draw out your own window of tolerance, and then start noticing, when am I in this tolerable range? And that's what the window of tolerance is. It's when I can go through these, activation cycles. Maybe a car's coming, I jump out of the way. Woo, that's scary, sympathetic response. But then I settle down. Maybe I go about my walk. I take a minute. I do a little discharge even, but I return more to that normal state. And so identifying like when we're in those phases, and then knowing like, wait, when am I way up here? And hey, I've been way up here for like 3 days. And then again, it comes back to having some resources and tools, which are individual for everyone. Things like meditation, nature, long walks, some of these nervous system techniques to help that will help bring you back down, and then being able to implement them times when you need them. But it really starts with awareness of even knowing like, what is that window? When am I in a tolerable range? And when am I way far outside of it? And conversely, we can be like way below the bottom of it too. We can be depressed, not want to get out of bed. We're just kind of like a blob and heavy. And I've heard a lot of that recently with COVID too. So again, that awareness is really where I like to start with people.
That's good. Yes, I think that is it, just becoming aware of where you're at. I know one of the great things that I learned years ago, and you've probably heard this too, Dr. Alice, is the whole thermostat and thermometer, that whole analogy. Have you heard that? And I'm going to fully admit it. I was definitely the thermometer. Nate, do you know what I'm talking about with the whole thermostat and thermometer? Yeah, you know. And I don't know if that's just kind of a woman thing or what, but I was like flipping my lid every time like something little happens. I was not proud, but I remember a therapist telling me that you're probably experiencing this whole thermometer, and you want to get to that thermostat where you can cool it down, you can walk away, you can take a moment and then get back to it with the solution instead of just like, Yeah.
Instead of being so reactive, because I think we are, That's the problem when we're in that constant productivity state. It's like, we're in this like hyper vigilant, hyper stressed state. So then our reactions are going to be bigger than they would if we're calmer. So, that's great advice. Like I use an acronym POGO a lot with my clients, which is to pause. What's the second one? Oh, observe your body, what's happening physiologically, ground yourself, feel your feet on the ground, maybe even do like some little knee bends to activate some of your larger muscle groups, and then orient, take a look around your surroundings, see where you are in the here and now. And you can do that in 30 seconds. And it really does help to get you back in your body and settle you down just enough so that you can either walk away if you need to, have a more normal response, normal, like a less hypervigilant response.
Yes.
I know for me, it's walking the dog and going for drives.
Yeah. And so that's good. You know what works for you. That's the thing too. Identify what it is.
To be quite honest with you, like whenever like people start getting on my nerves a little bit, when it's just like rapid fire throughout the day, I'll just go for a drive, and that's where I argue with everybody and do all my cussing out. So that like, I can come back and talk to everybody, nice and calm. That's how I keep from arguing with people.
Is this where you're talking in your car and you're just yelling at the steering wheel? Like
yeah,
you're
absolutely.
Just like, Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether just driving around, just like having arguments with people that are not there.
Yeah.
Does it help? How do you feel afterwards when you do that?
I feel great afterwards. I can come home and hop on a meeting or a phone call with people and be like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can take care of that kind of thing. But I've always done that. I mean, that's always like it's either drive or I go for a walk with the dog and I do the same thing and I just let him run around because I got a Great Dane. But yeah, I mean, that's just something I've always done. It kind of helps out. It's weird, obviously, but like the big thing is like it takes you out of the situation. That's the big deal.
Yeah.
You know, like because you know there's just some days where you know 100 people may hit us up on Microsoft Teams and have things that we have to take care of, and that's fine. They're supposed to. That's what we're paid for. But like you know, a lot of it can just like start piling up over time, and then you're just like, all right, I'm gonna go take an hour, and then I'll come back and knock it out, kind of thing.
Yep.
So as I'm moderating comments over here, I see Nate is blocking people because I don't know if you see this, Dr. Alice, but there are people that keep asking us about the couch auction.
What's that?
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I was like, are you guys auctioning off like a special studio couch?
I know, like to our knowledge or
relaxation?
not, but I think people are like live crashing. They're crashing our live and they're like, when's the couch? Like, this is funny to me. They're like, does the couch have Wi-Fi? I'm like, what? So I think this is great. Maybe this was purposeful. You know, like they're in here trying to get a rise because we're talking about keeping calm under pressure on a live stream and just and trying to cool our temperatures and our balance. So I'm just laughing. You know, Nate's doing a great job of multitasking and like blocking people that keep asking about couch services. But you can see here.
Oh wow!
Like, we can talk to you about couches.
Extended warranty on the couches. I've never bought a couch that has a warranty. I guess I'm not at that level of my couch purchasing yet.
I'm like, hey, you know what? It lasts a few years and I have to get another one. I'll find. I don't think we need the warranty.
Yeah.
So part of me, I'm just laughing as I'm like reading all of these as they're coming through. But I want to give a shout out real quick to the people that are on. We've got Stephanie Garcia, Chad Phillips, Michelle, of course, is on as well. Ruth Hartman, they're saying this is really great. It's definitely needed right now. Like this was the perfect topic to bring up today. So thank you again, Dr. Alice, for being on and sharing with us all your wonderful wisdom and knowledge about how to keep balanced.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I love too, and I think Nate, you kind of touched on this, the concept of pacing more than balance. Like as an entrepreneur, this has come up for me. And it's been a really helpful way to look at things because I think sometimes with balance, it's like we think that we're supposed to have each section of this like pie chart, you know, maybe like I'm going to exercise today and then I cook this healthy meal and I spend time with my kids and I do this for my business and it's all supposed to just fit and be great and we get all this stuff done. And I think that's a really like unrealistic and can lead to a lot of stress because some days we're going to have deadlines. Our kitchen's going to be a mess. We're going to eat like weird old whatever food that's in our fridge and it's not going to be a perfectly balanced day, but maybe we're just all in on this project for that day. And the next day it's different. So I like this concept of like longer term pacing of, again, knowing my own system. And so if I do have a day like that, the next day I can build in, you know, if I was Nate, a walk with my dog maybe, or I'm going to go drive around in my car and you know, shake my fist.
Yell at the wind.
Yeah, exactly. But whatever it is to know thyself, you know, so that after you have a day like that. And so then again, we're back to that more of like a paced environment. And for women, especially, I heard this quote from one of my business mentors that women always overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in 30 days. And that perspective really has helped me to relax. Like, I still make my to-do list, but if I don't get everything done, I can sort of see like, these are my, 3 priorities for today. These are things that I want to take care of in the next 30 days. And that's really helpful to not just think like every day we got to go be the most productive person in the world, like all day, or our business will fail. And I feel like there's a lot of that energy in entrepreneurship and in some parts of corporate as well. So to be able to take a step back from that and think about like pull out a little bit and think about a longer timeline has been really helpful for me.
Oh, I really like that. I was that person, maybe you too, Nate, where I would put everything and the kitchen sink on my to-do list. And you get it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do it. And then I went to that whole thing too, where it was like the power of 3. Like, let me just write 3 things. These are the things, because I realized what my priorities are, my health, my faith, my family, you know, that I wanted to incorporate those things into my day. So like sitting down to dinner with my kids and my husband, very important to me. I don't want to miss that. I don't want to just dismiss it, that it's not important. So I think that what you're saying, this whole focus on the 3, but see what you can do in that 30 days too. You get a lot accomplished when you're not stressed out, frazzled, and giving it less effort because you're already so burnt out.
Yeah. You feel so much better, and it's more delightful, you know, and joyful. And it's like, because I think most of us go into entrepreneurship because we have some creative thing to share with the world, or some talent or expertise we're really pretty passionate about sharing and reaching people with. But it's like, if we're so dragged down and burnt out that passion is gone, then, you know, then it doesn't come across the same way. Not that we have to be level 10 passion, you know, monkeys all the time, but there's got to be a thread of that in there, I think, to be effective at what we're doing.
I agree.
I mean, it's you know, it's just important to remember that like the world gets a vote in everything that you do, anyways.
Yeah.
So like people have to give yourself a break. You know what I mean? Like you know, y'all brought up that you kind of schedule out every single thing about your day. I do in a way, but like I'm not a very big stickler about it because there's always something that comes up and I'm having to move things around and stuff like that. So mine is more of, if I have free time, this is what's being taken care of. If I don't have free time, well, then I'm taking care of that stuff. I know the things that get me is like when it's just when like little small things just add up to like 1,000 and hit all at once. And then it's just like, all right, you got to chill for a second. And then I'll just basically list it out and I'll just go at them. And I'll people just be like, I'll get to you when I get to you. It'll be done when I'm done. Like, you can't expect anything better than that. And so I literally will just like go dark and just start working. And then as I get them off the list, I'll say, hey, your thing's taken care of. You're good to go. Yeah, I think a lot of people in entrepreneurship, they let the clients like dictate their day a little bit too much sometimes. And I think that adds a lot of headache and stress. You know what I mean? And it's not that you're not trying to be useful for them in whatever it is that service you're trying to provide. But it's just a matter of, clients will run you to death because they don't understand what their requests are putting on you in the terms of, hey, they're not the only one requesting your time, kind of thing. So I think that's something that people need to be mindful of.
Yeah, absolutely. We're having a lot of comments coming in off of LinkedIn. They love that, that 30-day perspective that you shared too, Dr. Alice. And then, of course, taking breaks every once in a while, definitely in entrepreneurship and anything that you're doing. It doesn't have to be in entrepreneurship, but just in your day, you should be taking breaks. Like a positive thing that's happened in COVID is the gyms are not open. So I'm not going to the gym, but I do find myself every single morning, like clockwork, getting up at 6:30 and going for like a 3-mile walk and then meditating among the trees. And I'm sure people are staring at me, but I'm like, I don't care. This is me. This is my time. I'm getting this in. And that's been super helpful of just laying the foundation for the day and just being more energized and happier to get started, ready to go.
Yeah, my day's pretty similar start. And it's so great. Like I get up and walk these cliffs by my house and sit on a rock for 10 minutes and do my little meditation. It's so pleasant. And then I'm in such a good mood. I came in, my boyfriend's like, what's going on with you? I was like, I feel great. The sun's out today. It's been really cloudy. So I think having the sun out is so amazing, but it's so nice to take that time and dedicate it for yourself. And I think another piece, like based on what Nate's saying, is this idea of like having some boundaries, particularly when, with clients, and what you were saying too about dinner with your family and like that you create this sacred space around it, or that boundary around it where, I'm not seeing clients, or I'm not talking to my clients during this time, or I won't respond to messages during this time, and just let that be clear for everyone. And I think that's really helpful too. And it can be hard as for anyone, because we always feel like, well, we've got to get this stuff done, or this person needs my help. And I think we all want to be responsible, helpful people, really. So it can be a difficult thing to put into place, but then when we do, it makes everything more clear for everybody. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing or a harsh thing. It's just like, no, these are the times that I'll be able to respond to you this time. Just don't expect to hear from me because I'm busy doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah. It's about respect. I think it's about respect for you and other people respecting your time. Absolutely. Yeah. But you also coming out and saying that these are the times that I'm available and sticking to it. I mean, we all know people that bend the rules and are like, okay, just for you. And then, you know, and then what happens? You feel guilty and you're like, I shouldn't have done that. Now everybody's going to expect that from me. And I'm back in the same room. Now I'm going in my car with my dog and yelling again.
The dog's in the car now. I like it.
I have pugs and a boxer. So imagine that little fun ride we take. He's got the Great Dane. I've got, the pugs and the boxer. So that'd be a fun ride. Oh, very good. Well, I'm checking in comments. I mean, this is resonating with so many people. The breaks, of course. This person, because you're not taking breaks from nature walks, maybe it's best to hire someone to do the things you don't enjoy. Yes, can we talk about that for a second? Because I know that I think when you're first starting out in business, you want to take on everything. You don't want to delegate anything. But I do feel that when you're investing in yourself and you're investing in your company so that you can do the things that you enjoy and you're outsourcing the things that you don't want to do, you just become so much more productive and efficient at the same time. It's this whole catch-22 mentality. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too.
I agree. I think it's really hard to delegate because it's like your baby, you know, and you've built this business up, and it's, especially when you're new and you don't, you know, maybe you're not financially where you want to be. It's hard to justify that hiring somebody else. I think my thoughts on this are to know, like, to do your numbers, like, can you afford it? And you have to factor in your time too. Like, how much time are you spending on these tasks that you don't like? And if it's a good chunk of time and you kind of can weigh that against what you could bring in financially in that time if you weren't having to do those things, that's a really nice way to look at it, because I think it gives you a better perspective. And even identify, maybe, again, you could go back to 3 things or 5 things that you really don't like doing, and see if you can find a person just to do that, just to start. It doesn't have to be a VA that handles all of your everything, but maybe you can delegate 5 tasks and it'll be a little bit more affordable. And some people can negotiate even like trades depending on what you're doing. I know some people aren't into that with business. Sometimes that can work out really nicely if you have clear expectations and boundaries around the trade. And, you know, maybe I like to have contracts just because it keeps everyone safe. But that's something I'm actually considering right now. I just messaged someone this morning to help me do a big launch because she's like runs a social media company. I'm like, God, it'd be great if I didn't have to do all of that. And she wants to work with me. I'm like, this could be really nice.
Yes.
So I think it's good to be open to that if it's the right fit. And so have some flexibility, but really take a good hard look at what kind of productivity you're losing, or what kind of, you know, emotional juice or vibrance you're losing in doing these tasks that you really don't like. And if you can pay someone, you know, $100 or something to do them, just pay it, put it in the budget.
I like what you just said. I think that's a great way to put it, of you're losing your vibrancy. Like when you're doing all of these things and you're just like, oh, again, your work just becomes so miserable. You're like, I don't want to do this. But back to your point about outsourcing. So I was getting ready to purchase a program with this gentleman to help me with some, like, just some lead gen. And it turns out he's like, I love what you're doing with like the personal branding. How about we trade services? I'm like, I'm all in. Let's do this. Like, I like this, you know? So I like that. There's definitely some opportunities to trade and barter with other companies if you need their services as much as they need your services too. So good idea.
A win-win. And then you can both promote each other and talk about how great you are. And that's, you know, just that spreads and helps everyone out.
Yes. So I want to give a shout out to some people that just joined us. We've got Bruce. Bruce has been on our show before. Bruce, I'm wearing blue today, the guy in the blue shirt. We also have Gary Rogers. Hi, Gary. Michelle is still sticking with us. Michelle has been on with us since the very start of this. So she's getting a lot of good nuggets from you. So thank you. Yeah. And then, of course, Chad Phillips and a couple of people. We still have those couch people coming in. So...
I should have put a couch up for sale.
Sold to you, sir. You get this lovely couch.
Oh, goodness.
This is this whole thing of just like rolling with it. We can't, I mean, he's blocking everybody that's asking, but it's just
bizarre. Like, what are they doing?
Funny. Stop crashing our live. This is not the live auction for the couch, people.
This is very important stuff here.
I know.
Yeah, very
very serious.
Altering, world saving.
Better shush. Lay down on your couch.
I Go lay down on that couch. Chill, Buddha.
Get your cloud.
I know. I love that. I love that you said that. It's just going to make me think of you. Every single time I see your face now, I'm going to think of Buddha chilling on the cloud. Oh, okay.
Dr. Alice. So I've got another question for you. In the little notes that you prepared for us, you're talking about stuck patterns, being stuck kind of in this kind of roundabout thing. Talk to us about how to work through that, instead of just maybe bullying through it or whatever. How are some ways to get out of those stuck patterns, and how do you even identify that you are in a stuck pattern? There's a lot of times, like me and my wife, for instance, we have to get each other out of it because you get into this working mode and you're just like, hey, you need to take a break for a day kind of thing. So, talk to us about working through those.
Sure. I mean, there's a couple ways to address it. One of them is like via the nervous system and kind of the whole trauma theory, which I won't go a ton into. But if the stuck patterns are really coming from a place of where we had a trauma or perceived trauma and our body goes into a survival state every time we run into a similar situation, a similar person, a similar dog, a similar color. And then we have this like sort of like a response that's bigger than it should be or seems a little more dramatic than it should be, whether that's, again, that sympathetic response or where we're more like maybe we freeze and we can't manage this thing. And so with that kind of stuck patterning, where it really is more of this kind of physiological sort of trauma-based stuckness, I definitely recommend finding a practitioner who works with those things and just start unwinding your nervous system. I think hopefully people know that you can unwind those and change those and come out of those patterns. But for that, it's really useful to work with someone who is skilled in trauma therapy and can help you with that. And it doesn't have to be a huge, big, lengthy process either. We can start shifting those with some gentle tools pretty early on. The other thing I'll say about stuckness, I think it's great that you mentioned you and your wife were kind of there for each other. The people around us are huge resources to let us know, like, hey, you might seem a little bit stuck. I think if we go for days where we don't feel creative, inspired, we feel kind of gray or drab, or we just feel like hyper stressed, those are really good signs of like, wait, it's been days and I haven't really felt like myself. And that's a good time to press the pause and again, look for those resources. And then really quickly to sort of shock yourself out of those patterns. I'm a really big fan of like movement, and talk to your brain and tell your brain like, hey, I know this is familiar. We're not going to do that today. We're going to try something else. I did a live on Facebook about this morning. If you catch yourself in these ruminating thoughts, thinking about everything bad that's going to happen, stop for a minute, tell your brain like, hey, I see you. I know you're trying to protect me. We're going to try something different. Do some movement, do like jumping jacks, do some punches, whatever, like get your heart rate up for a minute and then try to think of the opposite. Try to envision everything going right with this situation or just things being normal. Like you can go to the store and it's fine and you come home and it's fine and start trying to repattern your brain a little bit. And it takes practice. I think if there are some of the deep trauma patterns, it's really good to address those first or address those alongside trying to do some of the other stuff. But we can stop our brains and say like, hey, I don't want to do that right now. Let's try this other thing. And it'll try to suck us back. We can just keep saying like, hey, no thanks. Let's try this other thing. Also cold water. I'm a big fan of that. Take a cold shower. I go jump in the ocean frequently throughout my days just to like get my system sort of reset and it gets me moving again. So if you can.
I think we need to move to the ocean.
I do the cold shower a lot actually.
So we can jump in the water.
Yeah. It helps. Yeah. There's something called the Wim Hof method, I think, or the Wim Hof method. And he talks a lot about that like kind of shocking and resetting your system with cold water. And in the summer, it usually feels pretty good.
I like that. I've taken a lot of tips away from this. So shock your system, tell your brain, no, thank you. Go chill on a cloud. Yeah, those are all good. Yeah. I know we're wrapping up here. Is there something else that you would like to share? Maybe something you're offering to viewers today?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to do an offering. I have a little 5-day program. It's usually $17. If anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm happy to get that to you free. It's an email program. It's called Sober and Calm. And so it comes to your email every day. There's little videos with some practices that you can start implementing right away. The videos are short, under 10 minutes. And then there's some journal prompts and things like that. But it's designed to give you actionable, usable tools that you can start using to help doing some of this little nervous system regulation and understanding what your baseline is and developing tools to help bring you down when you are hyper stressed.
Yes, very cool. See, all these people are moving to the ocean. Lisa, Billy.
It's crowded though.
It's crowded. Showers work. Yeah, I'm sure you could toss on the shower and just go sit in the cold shower too. That'll work too.
I do cold showers every day, actually.
Yeah, I
good.
actually like it kind of on the warm side, but maybe I'll try and shock my system with a cold one tomorrow.
No, I start out with a hot shower, and then I just turn as cold as it can and just like sit under it for about 5 minutes. And yeah, man, it feels great. I like it.
It's a good immune booster too. It's good for your immune system, that hot, cold back and forth.
Oh yeah, very good. All right, well, I know we are out of time, and I just want to say thanks for everybody who was tuning in today. We had quite the comments going, including our couch people. So I will go back in later, and Dr. Alice and Nate, if you want to as well, and respond to people, by all means, you can do that. And we are back again live next Friday. So check in with us 10:30 a.m. Eastern or Pacific and 1:30 Eastern with our next guest. And again, thanks everybody for being on today with us on Casual Convo Friday.
Y'all have a good weekend.
Yeah, thanks
everybody.
guys.
Thanks for having me.